If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now everything's on sale during our Memorial Day event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses for a limited time. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
Do you love the Tabernacle Choir? This year, the choir's music is everywhere you are. Listen to your favorite choir songs and music and the spoken word anytime you want on Alexa by simply enabling the skill.
Alexa, play music in the spoken word.
Now playing music in the spoken word.
You can also download the Tabernacle Choir app, subscribe to the choir on YouTube, listen on Spotify, and have access to all their wonderful music. Happy listening.
Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome in on a Thursday morning. And yes, we have some sad Mammoth fans on our hands. I know. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. So many occasions, so many mistakes, so many moments where if they're a little better, if it's different, they win the game. But they weren't, they didn't, and Vegas wins the game. 5-4 in double overtime on a short-handed goal after a bad giveaway and a bad spot on the ice. Wash, rinse, repeat. Feel like we've been here before. Entertaining game. Tons of goals. That's a lot of fun. But the Mammoth are where they are because they're really good defensively. You know, when it comes to goals scored, they're right in the middle of the league. But they were 6th in the league in the regular season. 6th fewest number of goals given up. Colorado is number 1, and look where they are. And that just hasn't carried over to the postseason. It just hasn't. This is the third time in 5 games that the Mammoth have given up 4 goals or more. And what happened in those games? They lost every single one of them. They won 3-2. They won 4-2. You hold them a couple goals, you can win the game. You give up 4 goals or more, you're going to lose the game. And there it is. It's pretty simple. And we were talking yesterday about the power play. They're just giving Vegas too many opportunities. And can they keep giving them, 4 power plays a game? Seems like a lot. And you know why? Because it's a lot. There's no other way around it. We had Ken Bolke on from Sin Bin Vegas saying, can they keep giving Vegas four power plays a game? Said, probably not. Sure enough, they did. Vegas got the power play goal. And then even worse, they got the shorthanded goal. So when it comes to those special team situations, Vegas is capitalizing and Utah is not. And the soft giveaways, the third goal, the Melka behind the net, had the puck, and then he didn't. No real reason or explanation, no real effort to just bang that puck down the ice. And so they give it away, and sure enough, then they're caught out of position, and there's just time and space. It's just, growing up playing basketball, and then coming here where college basketball is such a big deal and the NBA was here. It's great. I got to cover a ton of basketball. And then you get new teams coming in, soccer and hockey. And, there's not a lot of new language and lingo and all that. But you know what doesn't change? Time and space. You give someone a chance to shoot. It doesn't matter if it's with their hands or with their feet or with a stick. You give someone time to shoot. You give them time and space. Bad things happen. It's not complicated. And after that soft giveaway behind the net, so much time and space. And sure enough, it leads to a goal. So can the Mammoth come back and win this series? Absolutely. I 100% believe they can. But they got to clean up the stuff they're doing. I mean, there's too many bad giveaways, too many penalties, and too many goals allowed. And there it is. Fix that stuff, and it's an easy game. And I know it's way easier to say it than do it. And I'm just sitting here, blah, 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 blah. But argue with any of it. You can't give the puck away in your own end when you're on a power play. First off, what are you doing at that end of the ice? And second off, what are you doing giving away the puck? And giving away behind your own goal is got to stop. I will say there was some outstanding stuff along the way. Both goaltenders had to stop breakaways. Veggie stopped 2. And, of course, the second one he stopped was after Weir lost the puck at his own blue line. What happened? How did you lose the... But Veggie came up big. But eventually, it's just too much to ask. I got to say, I thought Utah was going to win that. Hart is a perfect 4-0 in sudden death. I mean, at some point, that's got to go against you, right? And he made some massive saves. And Cooley's right in front. Shot comes in, rebound. Cooley's scrapping. I don't know how he got the pad down and pushed that puck away. Cooley got robbed. There were chances. There were certainly opportunities. And the one thing that has been a positive that holds is Utah remains a faster team. And, man, both teams are making mistakes. Both teams are failing to protect leads. Utah had a lead 3 times in that game and just couldn't hold on. They were up 2-1 late in the second period, just like 5 minutes. Take that lead to the locker room, and they not only gave up 1 goal, they gave up 2. So credit them coming back from that. But they had the 4-3 lead. They had about 8 minutes to go. They couldn't do it again. It just couldn't pull it off. It was the tying goal came after they pulled their goalie with they pulled him with 2 minutes left and then scored with about a minute left. And so, hey, credit Vegas, man. Big plays in the clutch. But the other thing, and we've talked about this, and you want to win the playoff series. You want to have as many experiences as you can so guys have that to draw on down the line, right? To provide that little bit of calm, intense moments and that little bit of focus when you really need it. It helps when you've been in a situation before. You don't necessarily have to have it, but it helps. I mean, Brady won the first Super Bowl he played in. I know you don't have to have it, but it helps. And so any experience they can have, forcing a Game 7, that'd be a positive. Winning a Game 7, that'd be a positive. Winning a playoff series would be a positive. But when you go big picture, the work that has to be done, the Mammoth have to be a lot better. If you look at the standings, just the point total for the whole league, they had the 16th best record. And they're playing the team that had the 14th best record. And it's super even. You know what that tells me? They really were a team in the middle of the league. Vegas really is a team in the middle of the league, and they're very evenly matched. And that's why this series has been tied 1-1. It's why this series has been tied 2-2. It's why I all think it might be tied 3-3. And it's why Game 5 was tied 1-1, 2-2, 3-3, and 4-4. I mean, these teams are even. And the scoreboard keeps reminding us of that. And they are in the middle of the league, and they're going to have to get better. It'll be an interesting conversation when this is all over to hear Bill Armstrong talk about where does this team have to improve? Where does it have to improve? And how much of that is the internal improvement of the guys, and how much of that is they need new players, and they need upgrades. They need to upgrade the roster. So it'll be interesting to hear him talk about that. Even if they do win this series, and even if they win the next series, Edmonton is the 15th best team if you look at the league standings. Anaheim is the 18th best team. They are in the softest quadrant of the 16 teams that made the playoffs. The Kings had the worst record, and they're already out. Colorado swept them. The advantage of having the best record in hockey. You get the Kings, you blow them out, you're on to the second round. But the next 4 worst teams on point total, just looking at results, are the 4 teams in this quadrant. It's Vegas, it's Utah, it's Edmonton, it's Anaheim. So it'd be great to win. It'd be great to advance. It's exciting. It's fun. It'd slow down the rebuild and make rebuilding the arena chaotic. But there would be a certain amount of fool's gold to it. The ultimate goal is to win the Stanley Cup. And you can't really backdoor that. You may be able to backdoor a round or two. Somebody's going to. And it might be Utah, it might be Vegas. We'll see. Anaheim's up 3-2 on Edmonton. We'll see how this plays out. Someone is going to sneak in the back door to a conference final. But you still got to win 2 more series. And there should be 2 really good teams there waiting for you. There's no way around it. The Kings are out. Colorado, Minnesota, Dallas are all really good. I suspect they'll end up being Colorado, but we'll see how it goes. But I think there's the short term and there's the long term. In the short term, clean up the penalties, clean up where you're losing the puck, and stop giving up 4 goals a game. And you can win Game 6, and it's back to Vegas for a Game 7, and we'll see what happens. Same things will apply. And then big picture, it'll be interesting to see how Bill Armstrong wants to upgrade this roster. All right, DJ and PK, we'll take a break. When we come back, the best of the post-game show, you have from the coach and the players. Stay with us. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now everything's on sale during our Memorial Day event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses for a limited time. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life's sleep.
Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Well, the Utah Mammoth get beat. They lose in double overtime. What went wrong? Penalties, giving the puck away, not finishing some good chances. Let's get it all wrapped up here in the best of the postgame show.
DJ and PK, the Vegas Golden Knights took it 5-4 in double overtime from the Utah Mammoth on Wednesday night at the T-Mobile Arena to take a 3-2 series lead. Utah looked to force a Game 7 in Vegas on Friday night when they played the Golden Knights here at the Delta Center. Game 6 of the series, 8 o'clock face-off. We'll be on the air at 7 o'clock live on the SeatGeek Plaza with Hockey Night in Utah. Jake and Ben will be involved in the pregame party as well, starting at 2. But on Wednesday night, Mammoth jumped up 1-0 in the first period. First career playoff goal for John Marino.
Schmaltz, Keller, and Krause stay out there. It'll be Schmaltz head-to-head with Brett Howden. Schmaltz wins another faceoff for Marino at the right point. Here's Keller walking the tightrope. Arrester misses wide. Marino scores! John Marino leads off the scoring for the Mammoth. Stashing in a loose puck, and it's 1-0 with 2:49 to go in the first period. Marino has been so good defensively all series, and now he chips in on the other end of the ice.
Vegas had tied on a power play goal late. We were 1-1 going to the second. In the second, Lawson Krause picked up his third goal of the playoffs. Utah got the lead back.
Kerfoot looking down low for Lawson Krause here in the Vegas end with 9.5 to go in the second period. Back out to neutral ice. This is Sergachev who turns it around the clock in the offensive zone. Now Krause open, scores! Keller set it up and Krause knocked it down. Mammoth back in front, middle of the second period. 2-1, and Lawson Krause has his third goal of the series.
Vegas, though, got 2 goals in a minute 40. It was 3-2 late in the second. Head coach Andre Turney called timeout. Got his guys settled down. They came out in the third. They tie it and take the lead. First, it would be Dylan Gunther.
Yamamoto ahead of 2-on-1 with Gunther. Yamamoto, Gunther shoots and scores! He's not next. He's now. Dylan Gunther scores his third of the series, and we are tied. Kyler Yamamoto set him up, and Dylan Gunther, the 23-year-old superstar who had 40 in the regular season, rifles one past a sprawling Carter Hart and drops down to a knee to celebrate.
And then Michael Carcone gave Utah the lead back at 4-3.
Here's Eichel controlling it. It's swiped away. Utah numbers ahead. Kerfoot and Carcone. Kerfoot moving in. Carcone a one-timer. Scores! Mammoth in front here in the third. Michael Carcone lights up Sin City, and it's 4-3. 7:18 to go in the third. Utah was surviving a Vegas push. Kerfoot took it ahead, floated it across on a 2-on-1, and Michael Carcone scored his second of the series to lift Utah ahead here in the middle of the third period.
Vegas tied it in the final minute of regulation to force overtime. We'd end up in double overtime before a shorthanded goal by Brett Howden would seal it. Let's hear from the guys after the contest, starting with associate captain Lawson Krause.
Away from a game like that.
Go win one at home. I think that's our focus.
A lot of extra hockey in that one. Were there areas of this game where you guys felt like you probably made it more difficult on yourselves?
Obviously we took quite a few penalties in the first half of the game. But no, I think, we battled hard. Obviously, we sucked giving up that goal late in the third for them to tie it. But we pushed. We never stopped working, and, unfortunate ending. But like I said, we got to go win one at home.
You guys have always had that belief, always just focus on the next game. How important will that be in relying on each other to lift each other up?
Yeah, it's huge. I think, take a look at us now. We have to win. We got to step up and do it on our home ice. We got incredible fans back home waiting for us to come home, and we're excited to get going again.
How's Vegas made it hard for you guys to maintain leads in this series?
Yeah, they're a great team. It's playoff hockey. It's there's a lot of energy out there. There's a lot of highs, there's a lot of lows. They're a great team. They're playing really good hockey, but, we're also playing good hockey. There's still some things that we can improve on. We'll go over that and get back to it.
So what's the kind of experience you can draw back on when it comes to, they talk a lot about experience beyond the other room. You guys are relatively new. What kind of experience can you guys draw on to kind of get you over the hump and get that winning game 6?
I think you just learn things throughout the series. You got to be able to adapt. You got to be able to change. And, we're excited for the next game.
You guys pride yourself on being, character guys and close-knit group. Do you think this group has a chance to really bounce back in Game 6?
Yeah, there's no doubt. Yeah. There's zero doubt in this locker room.
John Marino becoming the 6th Utah defenseman to pick up a point in the playoffs on that first career playoff goal that you just heard. We heard from number 6 after the contest.
What is that?
Yeah, obviously the loss is pretty fresh, but, I think as we've seen the other games throughout the whole series, we're a resilient group. I think we know, the ebbs and flows of the playoff series. They win 2, we win 2. So, we got to be obviously ready to go.
As far as the takeaway, you guys were in control of this game for the most part. What were the positive things you liked about your game?
Yeah, that's what we got to take away, right? Like the confidence we have behind this group. Like we play a stick to our game. We know how effective we can be against them. So yeah.
Everyone's contributing in different ways. You got your first goal of the series tonight. What does it say about this group that everyone's pushing and contributing?
Yeah, it's a pretty deep group. Line after line, we just keep coming after, and that's when we're at our best. We see that throughout the series, so that's what we got to get back to.
There's plenty of guys with experience in this room, whether it's playoffs or worlds or whatever it is. How can everyone lift their own teammates up with that experience?
Yeah, obviously pretty fresh right now, but, talk about it tomorrow and the next day, and then, look to those guys, those leadership guys that have been through it, calm us down, get ready for the next one. That's what matters most.
When you get to double overtime, what's the balance of trying to give it your all, but also conserve your energy because you don't know how long you're going to be playing tonight?
Yeah, you just got to go line after line. Quick shifts, trust each other, and I'll play the similar game.
How has maturity and experience played a role over these last 2?
Yeah, I think it's been huge. Obviously not the result that we wanted, but I love our compete so far, and we were able to come back in some games too and respond really well. So we'll take that.
Coach took that time out in the end of the second. What was the reset button that you guys hit?
Yeah, I think just calm ourselves down a little. They get 2 quick ones, just kind of reset a little, and go from there.
What's the message and mentality going into Game 6?
Must win.
Gotta
win.
How much can the home crowd lift you guys up in Game 6?
Yeah, we're for sure going to be looking forward to that, for an advantage. We had a win at home. It was huge in the first playoff game there. So, we're going to need everyone.
Thanks, John.
And Utah captain Clayton Keller now 5 points in his last 3 games, 2 more points on Wednesday night. He's got multiple points in 2 of the last 3. Here's what the captain said after the game.
But we get to go home, play in front of our fans, and win a game at home.
What did you see in terms of the ebbs and flows of this game? Because there was a lot of extra hockey.
Like, what do you mean?
Just in terms of how the momentum shifts, how you guys were able to manage the pace. Obviously, it's a marathon, not a sprint in this game.
Yeah, I think, these playoff games, like I said before, I think each team's going to have a push, and I think we did, a good job of, weathering the storm a bit and then just attacking, using our speed. Those are our strengths, and that's what we have to do if we want to be successful. But, I think each game we're learning, we're getting better, and we have to continue to do that, watch video, adapt to what they're doing, and go from there.
What's 1 or 2 things that this group has learned in this game, especially at double overtime?
I think you just got to stick with it. You can't change your game. Maybe when you get tired or, it's 2 extra periods of intense playoff hockey, you just stay with it. Trust your teammates. I think line changes are huge. I think just, setting up the next line, getting the next zone, just playing simple and going at it that way.
Barry.
That's very good.
Bear always says that don't change who you are in the playoffs, and you guys have always had faith. You guys have always bounced back. How can you channel that into this next game in Game 6?
Yeah, like I said, I think, we're a confident group, and we believe in one another and in our team, and I think, these are the most fun games to be a part of. Down 3-2, we get to go home, play in front of our fans, like I said. If you're not fired up for that, then you got something wrong with you.
Does the game change at all when you get to playoff overtime?
I don't know. I think you just try to do what, makes you successful throughout the game, throughout the series. You learn their team's, instincts and things that they like to do, and you try to break that down and get better each game at that. And I think just playing our game.
Does fatigue play a factor in a game that as intense as it is and goes into 2 overtimes?
I don't know. I think it just, you just have to continue what you do throughout the game. I think obviously both teams are gonna be a little fatigued for sure, but like I said, it's a team that sticks with it the longest and trust one another and just make the right play at the right time.
How did penalties play a factor in this game? Obviously, a big part of it, but how do you limit those in going into the next one?
We gotta check with our feet. Can't get our sticks in there, little things like that. But power play's got to be better. We got to find a way to score. They had one, and we had some looks, but that's something that we'll look at going into Game 6.
You mentioned the home crowd. How much could they lift this group up in Game 6?
Yeah, for sure. They've been amazing all year. Amazing the first 2 games at home. Definitely gives us a lot of energy, buzz, and we can't wait to go home.
How much has maturity and experience played a role over these last 2 games?
What?
How much has maturity and experience played a role in the outcome of the last 2 games?
I think we're learning each game. They're a very good team. They've won before. They're experienced, but we don't back down from anyone. But I think each game, like I said, just try to get better. Who cares about that stuff really? I think we just trust one another. We're confident and go from there.
Thanks, Bill.
For Utah, special teams a struggle. Vegas scored on the power play and scored shorthanded. Utah 0 for 4 on the power play. Second straight game that Vegas wins in overtime. Second straight game that they score shorthanded and also win the special teams battle. Utah outscored the Golden Knights 4-2, 5-on-5 in the contest. So Utah's had a lead in all 5 games and in all 5 third periods so far. So they'll look to close it out and again force that Game 7 on Sunday in Vegas.
I think both teams play really hard. We were really close, unfortunately. Give that 6-on-5 goal and could not get it done in overtime. But really proud of the way the guys played. I still think there's a few things we can clean up and be a little bit better. I think we had a big improvement in our play since the last game, but still area I think we can get better. That's one thing. The other thing is Barrett Eaton this morning. I told you he was not playing, and I was not lying. He was not planned to play before the morning skate. And after I talked to you, I had a chat with him, and he was feeling really good, and he kind of he was not seeing what 2 more days will change. So we had a discussion with the medical team, and according if the warm up and everything was good and was playing. So that's what happened. So it was game time decision, but to be honest, after the morning skate, after my chat with him, it was more unless something go bad. But before that was not planned to play today. So.
All season long, you guys have bounced back. You've had that positiveness. This whole group has always believed that they could come back. How important will keeping that mindset be going into Game 6 at home?
We played rock solid, and we knew they had to come through Salt Lake. We have to come to Utah, and we like I said, we're happy about the way we played. I think we progressed in our game. I think we have some adjustment we made and give us a little bit more rhythm. There's more thing we need to keep cleaning up. But I think we played a really good game. It was hard fought. game and proud of the performance of the boys.
Sergachev had 37 and a half minutes of playing time tonight. What does he continue to do for this group as a rock-steady presence?
Yeah, there's a lot of guys who have a lot of minutes, obviously, with the overtime. Schmaltz as a forward, that's 30 minutes, so it's a lot. But I think we had contribution from everybody throughout the lineup. If you look at the overtime of that game versus the overtime of the other game, there were more player involved. There were everybody contributing. Even at 5-on-5, I think we had momentum and opportunity coming from different lines.
We've talked a lot about the experience of the guys that have played in big championship games and big moments like this. How do you feel like those guys are contributing when the moment gets really big like this?
I think they're. It's a good question, but I think, like I just said, I don't feel there's anybody in our lineup who was not up to par tonight. I think everybody had a push, everybody had a contribution. There's no such thing as a perfect game. There's no such thing than any of our players not making mistake. That's not what we expect. But if you look at their effort, if you look at their focus, at our urgency, our execution, I think we did a good job.
One of the big parts of this game was the 4-minute penalty kill. How good was the penalty kill, and how instrumental was it to get your team double OT?
Yeah, it's the special team are so important. There's tonight, if you look, they have a goal on their PK, they have a goal on their power play, they have a goal at 6-on-5, and they have a goal on face-offs. So. That's a huge difference in the game, I can tell you that. So there's a lot of good thing we do. We score a goal as well on our face-off. Our penalty kill, like you just mentioned, kill there a lot of minutes, but we give them maybe too many opportunity to be on the power play. And we need to, at 5-on-5, we're playing really good hockey, like we did all season long. Well, we need to make sure we're tuned in on every detail, and their stuff happen. It's not necessarily because it's a special situation. Example, their power play goal, puck deflect on about everything in the building, get right on tape of 16 on the backside. What you want us to do? There's part of it is what it is. It's their 6-on-5 goal, the rebound come right on his tape. He's at the right place. He's going at the net. They put pucks on the net. They did the right thing. I'm not suggesting we didn't do what we had to do, but we need to find ways in those situations to be excellent.
Coach, two situations where you're able to kind of get your team to reset a little bit, whether it was after a timeout in the second period or even going into the intermission for overtime. What is kind of like the message there after you give up like situations like that where you give up a lead and then give up another lead again? So what do you talk to them about there?
Well, I think that was we played good, but at that moment in the second period when we had the timeout, we had a little slump for about 3 minutes where we didn't do the specific we need to do to be successful against Vegas. And right away you saw, as soon as we stopped doing it, they were coming hard. So that was just to refocus everybody and make sure we were getting back into the plan and into the detail we need to do. We need to execute.
Are maturity and experience starting to play a factor in this series?
Well, I don't know how you saw the game. I saw we played a hell of a game. You know what I mean? So I'm so proud of the way we played, the way our guys played, the intensity, the pace we had. I have no complaints about it. Like I said, there's no such thing as a perfect game. There's still some detail we can clean up and get better. Talk about some special situation where we need to have an extra focus, but I'm so proud of the way our team fought, our effort, our intensity, our commitment, our focus. Really proud of the boys.
Coach, you mentioned the effort and the intensity. How much, if any, did fatigue set in when you got to that second overtime, and did that play a factor at all?
It does offensively. You know, you don't have that little push to sometimes win the battle or cut inside or take the quality shot and stuff like that, you know. And that is that goes both sides. But yes, you could see it a little bit on our power play where we didn't have the same pop. That's unfortunate, But another thing we didn't talk about, but we were all talking about our start today. We had a hell of a start, So the boys were really tuned in. I'm really proud of them.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll have more on the game on today's episode of Mammoth Daily, wherever you get your podcasts. Mike Falter and I will give you more reaction. We'll hear from Matt McConnell and Dominic Moore from our TV side, and get ready for a Friday Game 6 before we re-greet you. Coming up Friday night, 7 o'clock, Hockey Night in Utah. Puck drops at 8. Join us on the SeatGeek Plaza before the game for all sorts of fun. More playoffs coming to the Delta Center coming up on Friday night.
All right, there is the best of the post-game show. When we come back, we're going to switch gears here, and we are going to talk a little college football. Pete Sousa, inside the Big 12. Chaos at Texas Tech. Down a quarterback like BYU last year. Like Utah 2 years ago. Like Utah 3 years ago. How will it play out? I mean, BYU won 11. Utah had a 5-win season. Utah also had an 8-win season. Really, anything is possible, but there do seem to be a couple of key storylines. We'll get to that next. Stay with us.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now everything's on sale during our Memorial Day event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses for a limited time. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
DJ PK, we're joined now by Pete Sousa, host of Inside the Big 12 and the Pete Sousa Show. Pete, good morning.
Hey, gentlemen, good to be back with you. A happy hump day, a busy day in the Big 12. It's like we continue to get these storylines in the off season that are jarring, interesting, and always feed into the following fall. So great to be on with you.
Let's get right to the top of the league, Texas Tech. I think everyone expected somehow, some way, they would certainly be one of the top two teams and be back in the conference title game. And with the news that Sorsby is probably going to be ruled ineligible and gambling, and he'll be punished for that, and he won't get to play at all, there's a little flashback here with Ute fans thinking, wow, I know how we felt when we had Cam Rising until we suddenly didn't 2 years in a row. One season turned into an 8-win year, another into a 5-win year because they had multiple quarterback injuries. How far can Texas Tech fall because of this?
Well, it's funny, too. I'm sure the folks in Provo are kind of feeling the same way with flashbacks around the similar time last year with Jake Retzlaff. You know, they went into training camp with a wide-open competition at quarterback, and Texas Tech could be in the exact same place. I think when you mention how far could they fall, they've got a decent backup in Will Hammond, and we saw him against the Utes last year show out and really almost take the job from Baron Morton. So that's a guy they probably won't have back till around week 3 because he suffered a season-ending injury last year, a knee injury. Behind him, you got a kid named Kirk Francis as a Tulsa transfer, more of like a caretaker quarterback. You're not looking for him to be the quarterback of your CFP team. So now it's interesting, right? Finally, the NCAA has instituted some rules, and they actually seem like they mean business. You can't get a transfer now. They have a thing, almost an outlier, called a ghost transfer, which you may be familiar with. But what that is outside of the transfer portal, a player could transfer schools, and that's a way that they could get a new quarterback. But if they were to find that there was any kind of tampering, you know, Joey McGuire, as the head coach of Texas Tech, could miss a large portion of the season, or the team could be docked a portion of what they make, right, their football income and their budget. So it's a whole new ballgame for Texas Tech. I really do believe, though, like a blueprint could be what we saw last year at BYU, and you just kind of got to see if you can hold the line until you hand the keys to Will Hammond, who was a guy who you were pretty excited about last season after that Utah game. But there's also a possibility, and I just want to finish the thought with this, that, you know, now this thing plays out in court. Like you mentioned, it looks like Sorsby will be ruled ineligible. Having bet on Indiana when he was at Indiana, if all this stuff is proven, that is just a non-starter. And then if you look at, okay, do we take it to court, right? Do we file an appeal? The NCAA is somewhat vulnerable nowadays. And, you file an injunction and you get a friendly Lubbock judge, maybe you can get a situation where you have Sorsby playing on a week-by-week basis maybe, but it all remains to be seen. But Texas Tech, I believe they're so strong in so many other facets of their game that they won't fall too far. And it is unfortunate what's going on with Brendan Sorsby. And I know folks in Lubbock are upset because they wanted a new offensive attack, right? They wanted to be a little more aggressive. And right now it doesn't look like that'll be the case.
You look at the lose on the defensive side, 6 guys get drafted, obviously Bailey leading the way, but I think that they had their entire line was really good there, and so they have to replace that. They hit the transfer portal, get several defensive guys. I'm wondering, as you say, that they won't fall that far because when you look at Morton, he wasn't exactly lighting it up. Now, we're just talking about Big 12. Obviously, when they got into the playoff, that offense stunk, but in terms of them being able to win the conference, I'm wondering, the first 3 games are winnable. You talk about like the kid from Tulsa, he did have 12 starts, was a walk-on at Tulsa, local kid from Tulsa comes down. If he can just hand off and they can just maintain what they need, Hammond comes back in time for conference, maybe they're okay.
I mean, and that's it. They have one of the weakest schedules in the Big 12. People joke around and say like it's a Joey Maguire type schedule. But you got Abilene Christian, Oregon State, and those are your first 2 non-con games. And you start off with Houston, and then you go to Sam Houston. I mean, those are 4 games right there where, maybe Houston's not anybody that's going to roll over. And then you have Colorado in October. So, they've got a soft start, you could say, compared to other teams in the conference where it does set up favorably for them to kind of figure it out before Will Hammond would be able to sort of understand her. And look, that team, it reminds me when I was a kid coming up in college, and, they used to say Florida State and Bobby Bowden, they didn't recruit, they would reload. And that's really what we're seeing from Texas Tech with this budget. Again, you can't make a move now in the spring to bring in a new quarterback, but you certainly brought in plenty of high-powered guns to perform for you on the defensive side of the ball. And I think that holds the line for you.
They have a soft schedule in the sense they don't play Utah and BYU, who are second and third behind them in the standings. And they do play 3 teams that were really bad last year. Oklahoma State didn't win a game. Colorado only won 1. And West Virginia only won 2. So those teams have a lot of improvement to do. And maybe they'll do it. Maybe West Virginia will take a big jump in year 2 under Rich Rod. So I get why people are saying it's the soft schedule. But they do play Houston, Arizona, and Arizona State, who all went 6-3 in conference last year. So it's not a complete pass here.
No,
I'm a little surprised.
Look,
the front half of it's pretty light except for that Houston game, and that does give Hammond a chance to get healthy.
Yeah, no, and Houston is pretty good. You return Connor Wegman. That team last year was very impressive, and the way that they bounced back every time you thought that you'd see them falter. Quietly, TCU's another team, right? They're the last game of Texas Tech's schedule. There are some teams in the Big 12, like almost you would call sleeper teams, who finished up with 8 or 9 wins last year, who people look at as, okay, that's a softer opponent, but it's really not. And those are sort of the rigors of the Big 12. I think one of the more interesting wrinkles to this story, and you learned this morning that Cincinnati is the possible whistleblower here because there was a $1 million fight over a buyout. And Brendan Sorsby, we had heard about that after he had signed with Texas Tech through the transfer portal. Cincinnati wanted $1 million for a buyout, and there was a fight over that. And no surprise, now this stuff is coming to light. There's two parts to those allegations. One, people feel like Cincinnati may have had information that they covered up, and 2, they were upset about the fact that they weren't getting the $1 million that they deserved, and that they had fought for out of Brendan Sorsby leaving. So there's a legal thing to this too that kind of forced them into this move. People are saying, and also there's one more thing. there's a Big 12 compliance-driven app that basically every student athlete has to download this. And so the Big 12 and other conferences can track your betting. It's called Prohibit or Prohibet. A little play on words there. But so Cincinnati and other folks in the conference were possibly able to monitor some of this stuff and had seen some of it coming, which opens up a question to me, like, what took everybody so long? But nevertheless, you could see this stuff more playing out in court. But I was surprised to see that Cincinnati could have had a hand in all this. Again, that's just an allegation now, but it certainly is one that makes sense.
I'm still a little bit leery that they can't get anybody because Cody Campbell's brother's cousin's uncle's friend can just go to somebody and say, and how can the NCAA stop somebody from over the summer just stop going to class at one school and say, well, I want to go here and I'm just going to go there. And I have the right to go to whichever college I choose as long as my academics are in order and they accept me. And so, the McGuire and his folks can't do anything, but Cody Campbell's brother's uncle's son's cousin's friend can do it.
It is kind of funny. If you're Texas Tech, they've taken full advantage of this system, right? And now they're in desperate need of some help, and they run into a wall with like the first rule ever in 5 years. They're like, wait, what? What are you talking about? And I think you're exactly right. I do anticipate some kind of legal showdown, and what we could see here, and I've been talking to people around this situation, like we could see some sort of precedent-setting move. With the NCAA, if Texas Tech is to get behind, a player who they've offered $5 million to, and I'm still trying to figure out how that will shake out if he cannot play. But you would think that they're going to put a lot of their resources behind Brendan Sorsby to get him eligible. When you're going up against a unit like the NCAA, who a lot of people feel like have been grifters for a real long time, and they could be on their way out.
And what if everything goes, and that is kind of the Jake Retzlaff to Tulane story, and it worked, that he found his way there in the summer, and they had a great season. So that could play, but let's just assume that they stick with Hammond. He played 8 games last year, but 4 of them are either bad opponents or such a small sample size it doesn't really matter. In 4 games, he was really good against the Utes. He was really mediocre against Oklahoma State, who was terrible, so that didn't tell him anything. He had decent stats against ASU, but they lost. Looks like he was okay running the ball, but not very good throwing against Kansas. I would say Texas Tech doesn't really believe in him. That's why they brought in Sorsby. But do you think, we see freshmen to sophomores, kids improve all the time. Could this all be a blip and Hammond ends up being really good? Do you have a feel for how much he might improve here with another year?
I think that it's the same. And that's what frustrates folks at Texas Tech, right? Like, it's going to be sort of the same situation as it was last year with Baron Morton, if Will Hammond were to be the guy, which it looks like that right now with all the rules that we know about. I think that it's more of a caretaker operation. That's kind of a lame term, but like, you don't ask your quarterback to do too much, and you lean on the other strength of your team. Now, that's a situation that puts Texas Tech right back in that college football playoff disaster that we talked about at the top of this conversation, right? Like, you are pedestrian offensively and you can't score. That is a ceiling that they could hit with a quarterback like Will Hammond. You were hoping a Brendan Sorsby would help you break through that ceiling. So do you have someone that can maintain a status quo at quarterback through the regular season and what we kind of all agree on is a relatively soft schedule? You do. But is he going to take you over the mountaintop or to the mountain, right, and get you over the hump? I don't know. I don't feel great about that. And look, this is where BYU last year had an ace up their sleeve with Bear Bachmeier, because they had a wild card that really no one knew how he would do. And then we see 3,500 total yards, 26 total touchdowns. We couldn't have expected it to be that good. I don't think anyone did. And I don't know that there's a player on Texas Tech's roster that could achieve like that. And there's no real question marks, right? Like, we've seen Will Hammond, we've seen Kirk Francis, we hadn't seen Bear Bachmeier. And that was sort of the exciting part about it, sort of mysterious. So Texas Tech, I do feel like there is a ceiling with a guy like Will Hammond. And it could be sort of, it really shows that it'll be more difficult for them to break through this season, even though they added a piece in the offseason that they thought would be the answer. But now it looks like that answer has been eliminated, for right now at least. Who knows? It's like as the world turns with this stuff.
In this current configuration of the Big 12, trying to handicap it has been very difficult. 2 years ago, the Sun Devils, who were picked 16th, ended up winning it, and Utah and Oklahoma State, for varying reasons, both weren't very good. And then it was so embarrassing that they decided to not even have a poll the next year. And you had Houston and Arizona jump up there and maybe surprise. So try to handicap the conference this season. You put BYU too with the Retzlaff situation. I don't think very many people had them in the conference title game. But trying to handicap it going into the 26th season, that's where I think it may work in Texas Tech's advantage, is that who knows what's going to happen. The point is this conference through 2 years has been really crazy.
It has been. And sometimes I think looking at the schedule can give you an idea, right? Like of who has opportunities and who doesn't. Regardless of schedules, I like what the Utes have going, right? I mean, you got Devin Dampier coming back. Morgan Scalley's a hell of a coach. I'm actually really excited to see him get his opportunity. Houston's another one we mentioned. 10 wins, 3 losses last year. Willie Fritz is as good a coach as there is. Arizona surprised everybody last year. You know, they finished 9-4. So there are some of these teams that have been outliers in the past, outside of Utah, those teams I mentioned, that we could see. Even Baylor. Baylor's got the best quarterback, one of the best transfer portal quarterbacks, right, outside of Sorsby, really, and DJ Lagway. And one thing that Baylor has, they got 29 incoming transfers, and they have Jake Spavital, who is probably one of the hottest offensive minds in all of college football. Like, Jake Spavital is almost the reason that people are saying Sawyer Robertson may not have gotten drafted, because they look at Robertson's numbers and they say, you know, he was in a situation where he could elevate to that level. Now, I think Sawyer Robertson's going to make the Raiders as their third quarterback. But you look at Spavital coached Fernando Mendoza at Cal. I mean, he's a guy that is a real high-profile coach that is an ace up Baylor's sleeve, you could say. So Baylor's another team that you could find in the mix. And Rich Rod, you know, another year at West Virginia, they finished sort of strong. But it's the same deal. I mean, DJ and PK, you guys nailed it. Like, when we come down and get ready for this season, when we're at media days, like, we don't know what side's up every year, really.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. And I think what we would all like to see, and this is me just from being a conference homer, you know, let's win a game or two in this college football playoff, and let's get 2 Big 12 teams in there. Let's get it this year so we can have BYU and Texas Tech. You know, like, where we're not sitting here figuring out why we're hamstrung.
Yeah.
Pete Sousa joining us, host of Inside the Big 12 and the Pete Sousa Show. I think this is where football coaches get really jealous of basketball coaches, because a basketball coach in a similar situation, they got this other free agent pool with foreign players, and you might be able to pull a rabbit out of a hat by going overseas and finding somebody. At football, you don't get that. It's like they are just painted in such a corner right now at Texas Tech, and everybody here is kind of shrugging like, yeah, been there, done that, it's your turn.
Yeah, and that's why I think, you know, that's such a good point about the foreign players, because those players were there was no option for them to play college football earlier because they wanted to get paid. And so a guy like Luka Doncic would just go right to the NBA. Nowadays, a guy like Luka Doncic might be playing at BYU, right, for at least a year. And it's a different ball game now. With what you mentioned about Texas Tech and their inability to really run out and just go to the supermarket and grab a great quarterback, I do believe that's why we will see the legalities of this thing play out. Like, I've heard people around the school talk about how they're going to fight this, right, and they're going to support Brendan Sorsby, and you know they got a ton of resources at Texas Tech. And you get a friendly Lubbock judge, like we talked about earlier, and you can get those injunctions that can keep him eligible to play. And I don't know what that looks like all year long, if that's like a situation that you want to deal with. It sounds like a bit of a roller coaster ride, emotionally and physically, for a football program. But that's an option for them, right, to break out all the big guns. Cody Campbell's brother's cousin's uncle, who's an amazing attorney in Lubbock, who knows the judge, right? Like that's We've seen that happen before, and that's what makes this stuff so entertaining in a kind of underbelly way.
None of us knew for sure if Indiana would go undefeated or not, even as they started piling up the wins last year. But the one thing we all know is billable hours are undefeated. That's what we know right there.
They absolutely are, yes.
Pete, we appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us and trying to sort out the Big 12, which really can't be sorted out. We'll have to wait for the games in the fall.
Yeah, one more thing. You know that Texas Tech will be in trouble or that this whole thing will be ended if Brendan Sorsby enters that supplemental draft. And we will have an answer on that by June. Right. So that will kind of give us a heads up on the legality. But, DJ PK, thanks so much, guys. I appreciate you.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are on the way.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now everything's on sale during our Memorial Day event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses for a limited time. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.